I'm talking with Martin Perkins, who's busy having a discussion here behind us just a few minutes ago with various MHKs and MLCs about the opt-out for transplants. And this is something you stood on, didn't you, since you've been in Parliament?
Been very keen on it, Paul, yeah.
Why is it taking first of all so long to get to this stage? And we are lagging behind other areas around the British Isles.
We are now. Originally, we were going to follow the Welsh legislation because they brought in the opt-out legislation well before everybody else. And we looked at that very closely and decided that we're going to follow them. And then suddenly the UK had a private members bill which came forward, and they now have it in the UK. So it makes a lot of sense for us to follow the UK bill.
So we're now behind. I mean, Jersey, Guernsey and the Isle of Man, but Northern Ireland, I think, is out of step now with the rest of the thinking of British Isles.
Yeah, Northern Ireland's still out of step, but no, we can get back in there, and we will be following the UK legislation.
Right, so at the minute we have to opt in,
yep,
as it stands, and this will just change it to opt out.
Yep.
So you're considered, you want it unless you told somebody through a computer site or a will or something, is it?
That's correct, yeah. The way you register your wishes is to go to the UK database, and you can enter your name and your details, what you wish to donate. You can choose what organs you wish to donate or what you wish not to donate. On the other hand, if you don't want to donate at all and want to opt out, there is a box you tick and you completely opt out.
Is this a massive amount of people each year we're talking about in the Isle of Man that this has come under a problematical situation? Because, let's face it, I mean, someone's in Noble's hospital, they're dying. Doesn't the surgeon go to the family and say, they'd like to give their organs or whatever? And, how's it work now?
Yeah.
Has there been much of a problem, I suppose, I'd say?
Well, the legislation that I'm proposing to bring in, it changes the question that will be asked to the family.
Right.
And if they haven't registered any one way or the other, the family will be asked, did you ever hear your relative say they did not want their organs donated?
Right.
So if the answer to that is, no, we never heard our relatives say they don't want any organs donated, they will be assumed to have opted in.
You could have a situation, though, maybe that the person themselves has agreed to opt. They were happy to have it consented, but the family still get asked that question even when the law changes. And if they think, oh no, I don't think it actually does, can they override that decision?
They can override it with the new legislation, yeah.
So is that good or bad? I mean,
well, it clarifies the situation, and I think if your loved one opted in and went to the UK register and made sure they were opted in, you would honour those wishes, wouldn't you? Or you would like to honour the wishes.
Why was Wales not as good as you want that? Because Wales went first years ago, and now the UK has gone in. Why have you decided to go in the UK rather than the Welsh model?
The Welsh legislation is slightly different, but
right.
If we follow the UK, it's a seamless transition, and our organs will go into I should say the English law rather than UK.
Yeah.
The English law, it'll be a seamless transition.
So rubber stamping, would it be purely just take their legislation and pass it, or do you have to make some tweaks?
There are certain tweaks that we're going to have to do because they refer to the English human tissue legislation, and we're going to have to Manxify that, if you like, which is in the process of being done at the moment. But everything will be done through the UK Organ Donor Registry, and that means we don't have to have a register on the Isle of Man, and it makes it just so much easier for the medical teams to find out.
And isn't something about age differences? Because in the UK it's 18 and you thinking about 16, Hibby? Is that right?
The consultation came back on the Isle of Man that they felt that people at 16 should be able to decide to opt in or opt out. In the UK that is 18. Now, Scottish donors will be on the UK registry, and they're also 16. So there's a little bit of tweaking to do to make sure the Isle of Man can register at 16.
When's this likely to actually come into force? I mean, on the basis it's got to go through Tynwald. You've got to have a debate and pass some legislation, right?
It's got to have the first reading, which will happen probably, I'm hoping, by the end of March, mid-April. And then it obviously goes through the Keys, goes through the Legislative Council. It may well be in the next parliamentary session after the July recess. But I'm hoping to get it moving as soon as possible.
Anyone that puts themselves on that donation list, though, it's not for other people in the Isle of Man, right? It goes into this pool, and does it work both ways?
It works both ways, yeah. And the beauty of being with the English law, if an English person has a motorcycle accident on the Isle of Man and is in intensive care and dies, it's automatically streamlined, and vice versa. If a Manx person has an accident in the UK and dies, it's reciprocal.
How many people are we talking about a year this is going to affect? Do you have numbers?
Yeah, I think it's about 4 a year, something like that, and it varies. I mean, you can be as much as 6 or 7, but it's averaging about 4, I think.
And we've heard from a boy called Danny and his mother who's here today because Danny died.
Yes.
And we've done an interview before, but we're going to talk to him again.
Yep.
Powerful, that sort of story, isn't it?
It's very powerful.
To make you consider it. What about yourself? Have you thought about it yourself?
I'm on the organ donor registry, Paul. Yeah.
You're already on it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's the point, isn't it? I mean, I think about it, but no one gets around necessarily doing it.
Yep.
How much knowledge will the Manx public get? I mean, to educate them that this law change, if it comes in, happens.
And that is part of it. It's publicity, is making sure people understand what is required of them and how they can register their wishes, how they should talk to their relatives, because it's a conversation that we don't like to have, death and that type of thing, but we need to talk to our relatives. There will be a Manx organ donating day, and we will raise the profile of it.
So in the meantime, before the law changes, and it could be a little while before it comes into effect, right? I mean, even if you passed it, would you have a period of movement anyway? A couple of years or something?
Well, it wouldn't be a couple of years, but it would be...
Because Wales did...
Yeah, Wales took about 2 years. Yeah. And I think that was because initially the numbers dropped, but now they've gone back up. And the Welsh ratio is it increased by 15%, I think, last year, somewhere along those lines.
So in the meantime, while people are watching this now, it's still worthwhile to... You can go to a website now even and opt in?
Yeah, NHS organ donating, get yourself on there, and it saves a lot of grief for everybody in the long run.
And have that conversation, I think. That's what
have the conversation with your loved ones, yeah.